Whether or not Atlantis ever existed as a physical place is, in many ways, beside the point. Its real power lies in its ability to inspire us to keep searching, keep questioning, and keep imagining what human civilization might achieve. In that sense, Atlantis is very real indeed, because it lives in our collective imagination as a symbol of both human potential and human folly. I'm about to take you on a journey through time that will challenge everything you think you know about one of humanity's most enduring mysteries. We'll uncover how a Greek philosopher's allegory became the world's most sought-after lost city, explore the real places that might have inspired this legendary tale, and discover why the search for Atlantis continues to drive modern science and capture our collective imagination. But first, let me ask you something. What if I told you that the very reason you're fascinated by Atlantis right now has nothing to do with ancient history, and everything to do with a fundamental human psychological need that's been driving our species for millennia? By the end of this documentary, you'll understand not just the story of Atlantis, but why stories like this have such an unbreakable hold on the human mind. Our story begins in ancient Athens, around 360 BCE, in the philosophical academy of one of history's greatest thinkers. Plato wasn't trying to write a treasure map or document a historical civilization when he first mentioned Atlantis in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. He was crafting a philosophical allegory about the ideal state and the dangers of hubris and corruption. Yet, in doing so, he created something far more powerful than he could have ever imagined. Picture this scene. Plato, already in his 60s, is dictating to his students. He's weaving together elements he's heard from Egyptian priests, stories passed down through generations, and his own philosophical insights. He describes an island nation beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, larger than Libya and Asia combined. This civilization, he claims, existed 9,000 years before his own time, making it roughly 11,600 years old from our perspective today. But here's where it gets fascinating. Plato's Atlantis wasn't just any civilization. It was a maritime empire of incredible sophistication. He described concentric rings of water and land, with elaborate harbors, bridges, and tunnels. The Atlanteans had advanced agriculture, magnificent temples, and a powerful navy that could project force across the Mediterranean. They were, in essence, the ancient world's ultimate superpower. The level of detail Plato provided is staggering. He describes their government structure, their religious practices, even the specific metals they used. Orichalcum, a mysterious metal that was supposedly more valuable than gold, adorned their temples. The central island was 50 stadia in diameter, surrounded by alternating rings of land and water, each connected by bridges and traversed by ships through tunnels large enough for vessels to pass through. But then came the fall. According to Plato, the Atlanteans became corrupt and aggressive, attempting to conquer the Mediterranean world. The gods, disgusted by their hubris, destroyed the entire civilization in a single day and night of earthquakes and floods, leaving it submerged beneath the Atlantic Ocean forever. Now here's what's crucial to understand. Plato presented this story through the character of Critias, who claimed to have heard it from his grandfather, who heard it from the Greek statesman Solon, who supposedly learned it from Egyptian priests during his travels. This chain of transmission gave the story an air of historical authenticity that Plato's other philosophical dialogues lacked. Was Plato being deliberately deceptive? Modern scholars largely agree that he was creating a fictional framework to explore very real philosophical questions about justice, governance, and the rise and fall of civilizations. The Atlantis story served as a perfect contrast to his vision of an ideal Athens, showing what happens when a civilization loses its way. But something extraordinary happened in the centuries following Plato's death. the story took on a life of its own. Greek and Roman writers began treating Atlantis not as allegory, but as potential history. Some, like Aristotle, Plato's own student, remained skeptical, famously noting that Plato was the only source for this supposedly well-known civilization. Others, however, began to speculate about where Atlantis might have been located and whether any traces of it might still exist. This brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of the Atlantis phenomenon, the search for real-world inspiration. While Plato likely invented Atlantis as a literary device, he may have drawn inspiration from real places and events known to the ancient Greek world. And this is where our story takes a fascinating turn into actual archaeology and history. Consider the Minoan civilization of ancient Crete. Here was a real Bronze Age maritime empire that dominated the eastern Mediterranean from roughly 2700 to 1100 BCE. The Minoans built elaborate palaces, had advanced plumbing systems, created stunning art, and established trade networks across the ancient world. Their capital at Knossos featured multi-story buildings, sophisticated storage systems, and evidence of a complex bureaucracy. Around 1450 BCE, Minoan civilization suddenly collapsed. For decades, archaeologists puzzled over what could have caused such a rapid decline. The answer came from an unexpected source: the volcanic island of Thera, modern-day Santorini, located about 70 miles north of Crete. Around 1600 BCE, Thera experienced one of the largest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. The explosion was so massive that it created the caldera we see today, where the center of the island simply collapsed into the sea. The eruption would have sent tsunamis racing across the Mediterranean, potentially devastating coastal settlements on Crete and beyond. Ash from the eruption has been found in ice cores from Greenland and sediment cores from the Black Sea, indicating its global impact. Could the memory of this catastrophe have influenced Plato's description of Atlantis? The parallels are striking. An advanced island civilization destroyed by natural disaster and swallowed by the sea. Some researchers have suggested that stories of the Minoan collapse, passed down through Egyptian records and eventually reaching Greek ears, provided the seed for Plato's fictional Atlantis. But the Minoans and Thera aren't the only candidates for Atlantean inspiration. The ancient city of Tartessos, located in what is now southern Spain, was a wealthy trading civilization that flourished between 1000 and 500 BCE. Like Plato's Atlantis, Tartessos was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules and was known for its wealth and maritime power. The city mysteriously disappeared from historical records around 500 BCE, leading some to wonder if it too contributed to the Atlantean legend. Even more intriguingly, some researchers have pointed to the Doggerland, a landmass that connected Britain to continental Europe during the last Ice Age. As sea levels rose following the end of the Ice Age, this area was gradually submerged, potentially displacing Stone Age populations and creating folk memories of a lost land beneath the waves. But here's where the Atlantis story becomes truly fascinating from a modern perspective. The search for the lost city has driven genuine scientific discovery and technological innovation. The quest for Atlantis has funded oceanic expeditions, advanced underwater archaeology techniques, and contributed to our understanding of ancient civilizations and geological processes. In the 20th century, the search for Atlantis went global. Explorers have claimed to find evidence of the lost city everywhere from the Bahamas to Antarctica, from the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean. While none of these claims have withstood scientific scrutiny, they've often led to legitimate archaeological discoveries and expanded our knowledge of ancient maritime cultures. The development of sonar, underwater photography, and eventually remote sensing satellites was partly driven by the desire to explore the ocean floor for traces of lost civilizations. Marine archaeology as a discipline owes much to the romantic quest for sunken cities, even if Atlantis itself remains elusive. This brings us to a crucial psychological dimension of the Atlantis phenomenon. Why has this story maintained such a powerful grip on the human imagination for over 2 millennia? The answer lies in several deep-seated human psychological needs and cognitive biases. First, there's our fascination with lost knowledge and vanished greatness. Atlantis represents the idea that somewhere in our past, humans achieved a level of sophistication and harmony that we've since lost. This taps into a powerful psychological archetype, the Golden Age, a time when things were supposedly better, purer, more advanced than they are now. Second, Atlantis satisfies our need for mystery and discovery. In an age where satellite imagery has mapped every corner of the Earth's surface, the idea that something magnificent might still be hidden beneath the waves is deeply appealing. It represents one of the last frontiers of the unknown on our own planet. Third, the story feeds into what psychologists call apophenia, our tendency to perceive meaningful patterns and connections, even where none exist. Every underwater formation, every ancient ruin, every geological anomaly becomes potential evidence for Atlantis because we're primed to see connections that confirm what we want to believe. The cultural impact of Atlantis extends far beyond archaeology and ancient history. The lost city has become a powerful metaphor in literature, film, and popular culture, often representing humanity's relationship with technology, environmental destruction, and the hubris of advanced civilizations. Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea featured Captain Nemo discovering the ruins of Atlantis on the ocean floor. H.G. Wells used Atlantean themes in his science fiction. The story has inspired countless novels, movies, and television shows, each adding new layers to the myth while often straying far from Plato's original conception. In the modern era, Atlantis has become associated with everything from ancient aliens to New Age spirituality. Some claim it was a technologically advanced civilization that possessed knowledge we're only now rediscovering. Others suggest it was populated by extraterrestrial visitors or served as a base for advanced human civilizations that predated known history. These modern interpretations reveal something important about how myths evolve and adapt to contemporary concerns. Today's Atlantis stories often reflect anxieties about technology, environmental destruction, and the sustainability of our own civilization. In many ways, we've made Atlantis a mirror for our own hopes and fears about the future. But what does legitimate science tell us about the possibility of advanced ancient civilizations like Atlantis? Here's where the story becomes both more complex and more fascinating than simple myth-making. Archaeological evidence clearly shows that human civilizations have been far more sophisticated and widespread than previously believed. Sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, with its elaborate stone monuments dating back nearly 12,000 years, have revolutionized our understanding of prehistoric human capabilities. Underwater archaeology has revealed sophisticated settlements that were submerged as sea levels rose following the last ice age. The discovery of the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses, demonstrated that ancient civilizations possessed technological knowledge that was far more advanced than previously assumed. If such sophisticated devices could exist in the ancient world, what else might we be missing from the archaeological record? Recent advances in remote sensing technology have revealed the extent to which rising sea levels have concealed evidence of ancient human settlement. Vast areas of the continental shelf were dry land during the Ice Age, and these areas almost certainly contained human settlements that are now dozens of meters underwater. However, none of this evidence supports the existence of Atlantis as Plato described it. The timeline doesn't match. The technological descriptions exceed anything found in the archaeological record, and the geographical details don't correspond to any known ancient civilization. But these discoveries do suggest that our understanding of ancient human capabilities continues to evolve, and that the oceans may indeed hold secrets about our past that we've yet to uncover. This brings us to one of the most important lessons of the Atlantis story: the difference between scientific skepticism and closed-minded dismissal. While we can say with confidence that Plato's Atlantis was a philosophical fiction, we should remain open to the possibility that future discoveries will continue to surprise us about the sophistication and reach of ancient civilizations. The search for Atlantis has also contributed to important advances in our understanding of geological processes and natural disasters. The study of ancient tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and sea level changes has been advanced by researchers investigating possible natural explanations for Atlantean-type legends. For example, research into the Storegga Slide, a massive underwater landslide off the coast of Norway about 8,000 years ago, was partly motivated by interest in natural disasters that could have inspired flood myths and stories of lost lands. This research has practical applications for understanding tsunami risks and preparing for future geological events. Similarly, the study of how rising sea levels affected coastal populations at the end of the Ice Age has been informed by attempts to understand whether folk memories of drowned lands might have some basis in actual historical experience. This research contributes to our understanding of how current climate change might affect coastal populations worldwide. The Atlantis phenomenon also illustrates the complex relationship between science and pseudoscience. While the scientific method has clearly established that Plato's Atlantis was fictional, the popularity of Atlantean theories has sometimes led to a problematic dismissal of legitimate archaeological anomalies and discoveries that don't fit conventional historical narratives. The key is maintaining what scientists call strong skepticism, being open to new evidence while maintaining rigorous standards for what constitutes acceptable proof. This means neither dismissing unconventional theories out of hand nor accepting extraordinary claims without extraordinary evidence. As we look toward the future, new technologies continue to expand our ability to explore the ocean floor and investigate ancient sites. Autonomous underwater vehicles, advanced sonar systems, and satellite archaeology are revealing new information about submerged landscapes and ancient human settlements at an unprecedented rate. While these technologies are unlikely to reveal Plato's Atlantis, they may well uncover evidence of sophisticated ancient civilizations that we haven't yet discovered. The ocean floor remains one of the least explored environments on Earth, and it's entirely possible that future discoveries will continue to surprise us about human history and ancient achievements. The story of Atlantis ultimately teaches us something profound about the human condition. We are a species that needs stories, myths, and mysteries to help us make sense of our place in the world. Atlantis represents our desire for lost wisdom, our fear of civilizational collapse, and our hope that somewhere in our past or future lies a model for human society that transcends our current limitations. Did you know that the most famous lost civilization in human history was actually created as a philosophical thought experiment by one man over 2,400 years ago? Yet somehow, this fictional island has sparked more real expeditions, scientific debates, and cultural obsessions than most actual historical events. Welcome to the complete story of Atlantis, where the line between myth and reality becomes so blurred that even today, people are still searching the ocean floor for traces of Plato's imagination. The search for Atlantis will undoubtedly continue, driven by the same fundamental human curiosities that have sustained it for over 2 millennia. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. In a world where so much seems known and mapped and catalogued, we need our mysteries. We need our lost cities and vanished civilizations to remind us that there's still wonder to be found, still discoveries to be made, and still stories to be told about who we are and where we came from. So the next time you hear someone dismiss the Atlantis story as mere fantasy, remember this: the greatest myths are those that reveal fundamental truths about human nature. And in that regard, Atlantis may be the most truthful story ever told about our eternal quest to understand ourselves and our place in the vast mystery of existence.